What's up, Corner, and welcome to Recap Time! My hair's too long and I need a haircut. I am currently sitting on my porch in the sunlight, basking in this beautiful sunshine and the warmth of it all. Oh my gosh, it feels so good. I brought you into my front yard, as you can see, to talk to you about, to recap, the Good Samaritan. Maybe you've heard this story before. Maybe you heard it taught as a way, as a moral study that you need to be more like the Good Samaritan. Maybe you were taught this as a way to get you to become like the Good Samaritan. Maybe you took this message that was taught to you and you turned it into self-guilting yourself or self-shaming yourself that you are not good enough. Maybe you heard this message along with the message of love God, love people. Maybe, and all of these things have this in common, maybe you've heard the Good Samaritan and all the story was focused on was the Good Samaritan and not the one telling the story. So to give you some context in this story, I've actually, I found actual documented footage of a real life thing that actually happened. These are not actors. Roll the clip. Ow! Ooh! Ooh! Oh!
What happened?
I rolled my ankle. Can you help me?
Oh, dude, suck it up.
Oh, an astronaut. Can you help me, please?
Sorry, I gotta go to space. Suck it up.
Why is there an astronaut in Grace?
Oh man, are you okay?
Yeah, can you help me out, please?
Yeah, hold on. I got a mask for you, and here's my wallet, and
I don't know why I need all this stuff.
here, you need some hand sanitizer. Here you go.
Okay.
And here, you need a phone too?
No,
Here.
I don't need
Here.
any of this stuff.
Okay, now
It's
let's
just
yeah,
my ankle.
no, we got you.
It's just my ankle.
Yeah.
It's just my ankle. I don't need your wallet.
It's okay. You can keep it.
It's not that bad. I can
No,
walk, I can walk myself to the office.
you're gonna need it.
Hold on. Nathan, I really don't need your wallet and your phone.
Are you sure you don't keep those? And I got a coffee for you, and I got a horse in the other room. Do you need my car keys? I can get my car keys for you.
No, man, it's fine. Like, I'm okay. It's just an ankle.
No, man, I really love you, and I really just want to take care of you, and I just love you so much, and I just care for you so much.
Right. I love you too, man. But,
Yeah, I love you. I'll go get my car keys.
No, I don't
I'll
need
be
your
I'll be
card.
back.
I don't even need your wallet.
I'll be back. Hey, anything he needs in there. If he needs lunch, dinner, a place to stay, a hotel room, money, whatever he needs, make sure you give it to him. I'll come and pay for it. Don't worry about it.
Are you serious? That idiot?
Yeah, he needs
just-
some help. No, I love him so much. I got to take care of him. Anything he needs, don't forget it.
God, okay. He's an idiot.
Wow. What an amazing, inspiring, true story by some amazing people. Wow. Sorry, I'm just recovering from that. The Good Samaritan is a story that we've all heard. Maybe you did hear it as something that was trying to guilt you into being like the Good Samaritan. Maybe someone finished this sermon and said, so go be like the Good Samaritan. The problem with those two views is that the focus is too heavily on the Good Samaritan rather than the one telling the story, which was Jesus. We taught this message last week, but I'm just going to give you a little summary of what we talked about and hit on some of the major points. The story starts with a lawyer, someone who was abiding by the law, someone who studied the law, right? The Torah, the law of Moses, the law of the Old Testament. Someone who knew the law came up to Jesus and they said, Jesus, how do we inherit eternal life? And Jesus said, you know the law, tell me it. And the guy says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus said, there you go. What Jesus was saying was, yes, that's what it takes to be worthy before the Father in regards to the law. That is what it takes. And that in itself, that description is so impossible for us to do it. And so instead of the man asking, how do I love the Lord my God with all my heart, soul, and mind, and strength, he skips that step, assuming that he already does that. And he goes to the next step and he says, who is my neighbor? And that's when Jesus responds with the story of the Good Samaritan. And we see that the Samaritans were actually enemies of Israel. And so it's interesting that Jesus himself telling the story is using the example of the one who would sacrifice himself, the one who would give love to people is the enemy of those people, right? And so we all know the story that this man gets beaten and mugged essentially and is left half dead, left to die, and a priest passes him up, doesn't help him at all, someone who would know the law, right? A priest passes this guy, a Levite passes this guy, but a Samaritan stops, and not only does he help the man, but he actually, it says he tended to his wounds, so that would imply that he actually tore his own clothes and wrapped this guy's wounds, gave him his horse, had him sit on his animal, took him into town, took care of him, took him to an inn, paid the innkeeper for him to stay the night, and then also told the innkeeper, I will pay anything extra this man needs. Just make sure he's okay. He went above and beyond loving somebody. So Jesus is saying that is the standard of the law. That's what it means to love your neighbor as yourself. This was an example of a Samaritan loving one person. We are commanded by the law to love our neighbor, everybody, in this way. And so what I think Jesus is doing is he's saying, here is the standard of what loving your neighbor looks like, and you don't meet it. You fail. In other words, Jesus is saying, you are not worthy. You can't do what it takes to be worthy before the Father. But praise be to God that Jesus is the one telling the story because he lived perfectly. He obeyed the law to perfection. He loved his neighbor in full perfection. He loved the Lord his God with all his heart, soul, mind, and strength. He gave his life for his neighbor. And that Jesus, if you just believe in him and trust in him, that Jesus is your righteousness. He has saved you and set you free. See, the focus is not you need to be better. The focus on look at the one who was. Look at the one who is perfect and trust that he resides in you and he has made you righteous before the Father. He has made you worthy, and now you stand worthy before the Father. And when you cling to Jesus, when you rest and you lean on him, you will start to see the love of Christ shine through you. Even though you will still sin, even though you still are broken, Christ will shine through us, and he does. He does shine through us, even when we're not being what we think are good people. So my encouragement to you is whenever you hear the Good Samaritan story, take the eyes off of yourself and what you can do to be better, and put your eyes on the one who was perfect. Put your eyes on Christ, the one who loved you and loved everyone around you to complete perfection. Love you guys. Look forward to seeing you again in person. But until then, be safe, stay sanitary. Well, hey, as always, guys, if you liked that video, if you were encouraged by that video, subscribe to this channel for more videos. We'll do more recaps of all the messages that we teach at the corner. As always, you can follow us on social media, on these social media accounts right here. We have a TikTok, an Instagram, Snapchat. Follow us there. And as always, I love you guys. Can't wait to see you again. We'll see you later. Say bye to Batman.